Hi there! Today we're going to build the MP32C64 version 2.1, which is a device that lets you load games from the internet via audio, so from your smartphone or your PC. You can also use a standard dataset which connects here and copy files from the internet onto the dataset, so onto real tapes, if you like that. Yeah, and we're going to build this. This comes with a pretty extensive build guide, which is 15 pages and covers pretty much all the topics. This should be an easy build, so let's see how it goes and let's build this. So let's maybe first take a quick look at the parts. We have the PCB, which has all the parts labeled on it. We have a socket for the main IC. There's just one IC here and some resistors and some LEDs and some switches. And this is pretty much the IC that handles the conversion from analog to digital. Or to make this more clear, the C64 dataset does most of the heavy lifting when it comes to the program. So it takes the audio signal from the tape, and that is an analog waveform, and converts it into a square waveform, and that is pretty much what this chip does. We have the tape port connector. These might become pretty no, forget it. We have two teeny tiny switches, two teeny tiny LEDs. We have a potentiometer. We have, I guess, this is a resistor. And another one. Yeah, and a little label, which we should put on, but I guess we don't. And I already got a 3D printed case, so let's see if this fits in the end. Okay, so I guess we will start building this. So here's some preparation stuff which we just skip. Here's the parts list, and this is pretty much what we just saw here. Some resistors, some capacitors, potentiometer, socket, and the main IC, a CI4069, and stuff like that. Then you get a little soldering tutorial. So if you're new to soldering, that might be a nice project to try. And then come the assembly instructions. And these come in color, but I always print in black and white. Okay, so these resistors are actually not labeled, but we have 2, 1, 1, 3. So we might be able to figure that out. So maybe we leave these for last. I guess we will start with the PCB socket, which is pretty simple. You can see you have a little notch up here and a little notch in this socket on one side, and we put this in just like this, and we solder it in. That's pretty much all there is to this. And to do this, we can press down on the board while soldering. If you are not so skilled in soldering, that might be hard to do. You could also use some electrical tape or any other kind of tape which doesn't leave any residue, and just put the socket down on the board. That way, make sure it's really nice and snug on there so that there's not too much space. Always make sure to put the soldering iron on the pad and the component leg so that both heat up. Then leave it there for a second or two and let the solder do its work. And as you can see, this works nicely. And you can, of course, also use one of these helping hands, which might keep the board a little bit more convenient. But my helping hand is a bit broken, and so it's pretty loose. I have to order a new one. But this should go nice and easy. See? So that's the first thing in there. Nice. We can remove the tape. Maybe we use this later. I don't know yet. Okay. So we have that. Then let's see what else we can put on there. We have two of these headphone jacks. One goes here, which is the output, and one goes here, which is the input. And I guess we are going to solder these next, because I can. And we can reuse our tape, which is nice. And again, make sure that it's really flat. And it's a good idea to always solder the corner pins first. Make sure that you use a lot of solder on this pin up here, because this is a strain relief. And it makes sense to put a lot of solder in there. And we do the same here. I guess these are not specifically labeled. Input, output, no, they are both the same solder. And sometimes it's actually easier to solder this way around, so from the side, than from like this, or this side. Okay, and that's on there too. And then we have the dataset port, which can go any way around you like. And the best way to do this is to really push these together so that the board can barely slide into it, and then put the board in from this side and slide it down until the pins are really nice on there, so that, as you can see, it has a little wiggle room, so it's still too far. We push these down from both sides, and it's still not flush enough for me. Let's try again. Yeah, now it's okay, it's sitting good. And most importantly, you have to see that this connector is not like this or this, but straight. And we will have to push these even further. I'm a little bit worried that these break, but maybe they don't. So let's solder one pin on this, and then straighten it, and then solder another pin, I guess. We'll put some solder on the tip of the soldering iron. And I will measure this. Okay, as straight as it gets. Okay, we can solder this on now. And again, make sure to put on much solder, because the strain relief is the solder in this particular case. So solder like there's no tomorrow. Okay, so connectors on there. As you can see, we have to put in these two, and that's what we are going to do now. So these are two different capacitors. So C1 is the 10N and C2 is the 0.1. So this is the 10NK 100. I guess this has no polarity, so just put it in here. This goes next to the socket. Well, these are not labeled like on the build guide, so a little confused here. So we bend the legs a little, and then we are going to solder it. And we can cut the excess legs. Make sure you wear eye protection or move your eyes away. Put a finger on it, don't cut yourself. Happened to me. Okay, that's on there, nice. Which leaves us with the two LEDs, and these have a short leg and a long leg, as you can see, and the short leg also, and that is pretty hard to see here, the place where the short leg is flat and the other side is round. So the flat side is the minus or cathode, and you install these, which is hard to see on the print, with the flat side down. And we want to have the LD1 is red and LD2 is green. So we put these in here, and the second one here. Again, bend the legs, solder the thing. And again, cut off the excess legs. Then we have the switches. The IC just goes into the socket. Now we can do this already. There's a notch on the IC up here, and there's our notch on our socket and on the board, and we just have to push the legs a little to make them fit, and then you just push and in you go. So there's one 3-legged switch and one 6-legged switch, so that should be relatively easy to figure out which goes with where. It doesn't matter too much which way around these go, because there's no information about this. So let's just put them on here. Now I'll use my electrical tape to push it down on the board. And then remember to solder all 3 legs on the 3-legged and all 6 on the 6-legged. And then we have the 6-legged switch. Here we can just bend the pins a little to keep them flat in, and you bend the corner pins. That should do the trick. And we solder away again. In. Nice. So we have the potentiometer, which is 3-legged. leg it. And you can only put this in one way, I guess, without doing any stunts. This goes up here. Like this. Okay, which leaves us with the resistors, and that should be doable. If we take a look at the documentation, we can see there are 3 2K2 resistors, and we only have one 3-pack. So I assume that these are R6, R9, R10. So let's put these in. You can put these in any way you like, because they are not have no polarity. So R6 is here, so it goes in here, and R9, the next one, is it R9? Yeah, goes right beside, and we have R10, which is up here next to the potentiometer. Okay. Okay, which leaves us with 2 single and 2 double resistors. And to really check out, we could follow this here, which says brown, black, green, and we could check, and we do have one brown, black and green, and I guess this would then be R7. But you could also use the multimeter to measure this resistance. So this would be R7. Then we have another single one, which is R1, red, violet, orange. And yes, that is that. So this is R1. Which goes in down here. R7 was over here. And this leaves us with 4 more. And we have R3, R5, which would be blue, gray, orange. If you put these side by side, these are the orange ones and these are the red ones. They are pretty similar, but not completely. Use these as the blue, gray, orange, which is R3 and R5, and it's best to bend the pins or the legs like this and then just put them in here. As I said, they have no polarity, so you can do this as you wish. R5 and R3, yeah. Okay, and that leaves us with the final 2, which is R2 and R4. And then we are ready to test, I guess. So that wasn't too hard. As I said, you could also use a multimeter to measure the resistance, but that will be the topic of another video. So subscribe if you want to know how that works and don't know already. So that is the finished product. Everything looks nice. Just quickly check for that there are no shorts, so there shouldn't be any components connected, which is correct. Okay, so let's put this into this little housing, which I 3D printed. I have no idea how this... Oh, okay, just... Oh, that's nice. Fits great. And then you put on this right here, and it clicks just in place. Wow, that's awesome. Look at that. You can connect the dataset here, can put this into the machine, have your in and out jack. You can even almost see the LEDs. Don't know what these two are for. I guess these were initially for the switches, but the switches are in a different place. So maybe I have a slightly different PCB here. But that is okay. All in all, it fits very well. So we'll use this anyway. Great. So I guess time to test it. So I did bring out my trusted bread bin 64. And first thing to do is to set these switches in the correct position, which they already are. You have to put this in the rec position and this in the N position. So since we can do quite some stuff with this, we can actually hook up a standard data set, and you can read or write to this data set. Read from this data set or write to this data set. You can, this is input, so you can connect your phone to this and play WAV files or MP3s, which are converted and put into the C64. And you can also not just write to dataset, but you can also write to the PC. So if you put in another audio cable, you can create backups from your original tapes, which is quite nice. One thing I noticed is that with the case on, it does not fit into the machine. So I have no idea what this case is for, because it's way too big to fit in there. So we're going to plug this in without a case for now. And that fits. We will use a standard audio cable and connect that to my phone. Okay, so let's fire up the machine. I have the website load64.com open on my phone. My phone is connected to the MP32C64 version 2.1, and we type load, and you can just click on any game here and it starts to play the MP3 or WAV file, which goes into the machine and should load the game. Since this doesn't stop like a usual dataset, which stops if the found whatever appears, we have to be quick to press the spacebar to continue loading, else we get a load error. So let's just go with this one, which is Alien from 1984. Found Alien. Very good. And there we go. I'm at about 2/3 of the max volume on my phone. So that's something you have to figure out. So let's get a bit closer. Oh, there we go. Hopefully this did load correctly. Yeah. Look at this. Alien. We live as we dream, alone. By Joseph Conrad. So this is actually the full game. Great, so that seems to work. Okay, so the C64 can load games. That's awesome. Now I want to see if I can do the same on my PET, because I really bought this device for my PET, because it's right now the only way to load games or programs on the PET. if you don't have any original cassette tapes. So let's bring up the PET and see what goes. So I brought out the PET and I have here Space Invaders, which I sent myself via mail. And let's start the PET. Hope it still works. Oh, it does. Look at that. Let's type load. Load. And let's start the audio file. See what happens. You can see that little bar moving down there. Ah, there it is. Found Space Invaders. Nice. You don't have to press any space bars or stuff like that on the PET. So this just loads and we will fast forward this. Okay, there's Space Invaders. So let's run this. Oh, nice. It shows you how to get audio from your PET, which does not have sound. At least this 2001-8 doesn't. And it shows you how to build a parallel port audio amp. Crazy. Okay. Pluff Space Invaders. Alrighty. Okay, I guess there's some... Okay, so that did load flawlessly. Nice. By the way, I used a WAV file which I sent to myself by email, and I did connect the MP3 to C64, which technically now is also an MP3 to or WAV to PET, to the internal cassette port of the PET. And I thought I wouldn't use this case, but in the PET this actually makes sense. Let me quickly switch this off and let's have a quick look inside. Can barely make it out, but there it is, and it's also in the black case so that it doesn't touch the metal ground. Yeah, and it works flawlessly. Cable just hangs out here, so I might actually leave this in there. So let's quickly try to load another game. This one is called Dungeon. Okay, let's check if we can list this. Oh, look, it's actually a basic program. Looks like this did load fine. So at least the loading part of this whole operation works. Cursor 15 Dungeon by Brian Sawyer. Search for gold in the ancient ruins. Press return to begin. Setting up. And yay. Okay, so how do we move here? Ah, okay. You are the dot and you are controlling this with the number keys. I assume this was pretty impressive back in the day. So this device works at least in loading games on my PET, which I couldn't do before. So that's quite nice. I just figured out that I have Scramble for the PET, but it's a PRG file and that has to be converted to WAV, and there's a tool to do this, and I will do this now. I take you with me on the machine, convert the file, put it on my phone, load it into PET, and see what happens. Okay, I headed over to my Windows PC, and here we fire up Chrome and go to this website, which is sourceforge.net, and we download the WAV to PRG, or WAV PRG, which is a Windows program, so I can't do this on my Mac. And we just click next and agree, and I still agree, and I install. And it's completed. So let me check where the machine put this, and here it is. Okay, we select convert a PRG to a sound or tap or WAV file. And in this window that opens, this conversion window, we select slow, we don't select raw mode, but we do select the C64 NTSC, which is the most compatible with the PET. We select WAV file because we want to have a WAV file that we can then use on the PET, or on the phone rather. We enter 48,000 and leave 254 here, and we say OK. Then from the desktop we select the PRG file. In my case this is the scramble.prg, and we save this to scramble.wav. And here we go. Okay, so let's try this on the PET. So after fiddling with the settings, I finally managed to load Scramble, I guess. Let's see. I was pretty sure that Scramble was a basic program, because back in the day I do remember adding more lives to this in BASIC. It did load something, but does not seem to work. Simply doesn't run on a stock PET 2001 with 8K. So since I knew that Dungeon works on my machine, I did convert Dungeon from PRG2WAV myself. Let's see if this works. I found something. Because if it works, the settings in the program are correct, but Scramble just won't run on my machine, which is unfortunate. And I will have to check if there's another version of Scramble. Okay, nearing the end. And here we are. So let's see. Yeah, that works. Okay, so the settings in the program are correct, and I will show the settings, the final settings that work with this device for the PET right now on the screen. Can you see it? Okay, take notes. And yeah, I guess this concludes the MP32C64/PET device build and testing for now. If I have news about the copy function, I will do a follow-up video. But bye for now.
Thank you for watching Retro is the New Black. If you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe. If you like the video, please share. Every like, share, and comment helps a lot. Until next time, bye-bye.